This is light work. Come on, spill the tea, yeah. Ooh.
Hey y'all,
What's good?
I'm Laura.
I'm Dee, and welcome to
Spill the Tea with Laura and Dee.
Yeah.
What are we chatting about today?
So, I'm glad you asked. Our Candid Convo is don't get bullied.
Love it. There's lots of bullies in real estate.
Yes. Who are some of the bullies?
So bullies a lot of times with people on the other side of the transaction. You've got your lenders. They're the ones who are slated to make money and they care about their paycheck a lot of times and not your investment or your position in the purchase. So you've got your lenders. A lot of times I see a lot of bullies in the co-oping agent, the other side of the transaction.
So, how do you approach that with your clients? Because your clients don't get bullied.
Oh, no. So we say that we guide and then listen.
Okay.
That's kind of our program or our platform as far as helping our clients down of purchasing a property or selling a property, right? And so one of the big examples that I like is I was talking to our lender the other day.
Right.
And he had a property that we were looking at to purchase.
Right.
And he was very motivated. Motivation level was super high. And a lot of times when that bullying comes out, because the other side's motivation is high, they want that paycheck, right? They need that paycheck. They'll lose money if they don't get that paycheck.
Exactly.
They're going to lose the listing. And in this case, he was going to lose money because he had loaned someone money. They ran out of money in the middle of the flip. It needed to be sold. And there was definitely some room and some money to be made. He was going to lose out if it didn't get sold because he was going to have to foreclose on the property. As we were walking through the property, I had him on the phone and he was very aggressive, trying to explain to me why this home was a good buy. Hadn't even walked through the home.
Right. Oh, wow.
So it was like, well, I hear you. However, for my style of renovating, these are the things that would need to be changed. And he was angry at me. I was going to create an environment that would sell and that a buyer would enjoy. Right? The way the home was laid out, it didn't flow.
Right.
It didn't make any sense. And I can see why the investors did what they did. They were probably new investors and didn't really have an idea of how to flip that house correctly. That's why they ran out of money.
Right.
That's why we don't run out of money.
Right.
Because when we make the purchase, we make sure our investment matches the plan and the budget that we've set and that there's room on the back end. So we ended up not buying that house, but I caught a lot of grief from my lender. And I think that a very new, excited investor would have easily
That's the problem.
listened to him,
Exactly.
and accepted his advice or what he was saying as reality. Even though I think anybody walking through that that house, their heart of hearts would have said, no one wants the toilet in the stove next to each other. Like, that's gross.
Right.
And that's, open the door and there was the toilet and there was the kitchen. It was not good.
And to your point, so like new investors probably would have ate it up.
Correct.
Because one, they're already talking to someone that seems credible to them.
Correct.
Hopefully they're licensed, right? And then from there, it's like, as a new investor, I feel like sometimes it's really hard to see the end game, right? Sure, you're going to have a finished house, but how's that house actually going to get used and what value are you actually bringing?
Correct.
Because if you're bringing $250,000 worth of value, but you're asking for $350,000, who wants that?
Right.
Who wants that? You got to bully them.
Correct. So my suggestion is, if you're a new investor or you've not done this, make sure you're working with a realtor who is going to have your best interest at heart, right? So when we come into this kind of situation, we evaluate the property, we look at it, and we know what our end game is. So having that plan ahead of time, I think really helps to stop major financial mistakes in the real estate market.
Right.
Because, I think 3 days after we looked at the house, I got a phone call from the lender, and he's so excited he had sold it and found an investor and found a buyer and was so excited to tell me how dumb I was.
Right.
Well, watch the house. Watch the numbers.
Right. Oh,
I wasn't so dumb. Right? So definitely, be prepared for strong arming on the other side. And then I would say co-oping agents. They're probably the worst as far as being bullies because a co-oping agent loves to tell the other side how to do their job. Right?
Right.
Like, get your client to sign this right now. No. The answer is absolutely not. That is a bad deal for both sides.
Right.
Like,
right, because it's like, do you not think about the fact that if it's just a bad deal for them, if they're smart, at the end of the day, they may turn that down and walk away from their earnest money. You wasted time at that point, right? Unless your earnest money is like $50,000.
Correct. I mean, as a seller, you don't want the earnest money. You want the property sold.
Exactly.
And so making sure that the deal, that your agent is not bullying, and if you're the buyer, making sure, even your agent will bully you. We'll talk about that in a second. I've got a story to tell you that's kind of obnoxious. But I get it all the time, right? Where I'll have a house listed and, I've got one listed right now and the offer on it is about $50,000 lower than list price. But anyway, we are not under contract with this person. And I'm not saying that the house is not going to sell for the price that he gave us. Right? It may. It absolutely may. I mean, $50,000 less than list price. If you're on market for 100 days, hey, listen, maybe with the numbers you pulled based on the market today doesn't match your house for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Buyers are not as motivated today as they were yesterday, so you're getting some crappy offers. But to have an agent pick up the phone and call and try to explain to me what's best for my client, whereas if we sell their house at the price that they've got it offered at, we're selling this house at the same price that homes with no basements in that neighborhood are selling for, right? So I get we need some paint, I get we need some work, and there's going to be some value in that. Mm-hmm. But it's a better idea and a better platform for my client to drop the price by $5,000 every week. And even if that's $20,000 for the month, it would still take us 3 months on market to get to that $480.
Right.
Where he's offering us. And so, make sure your realtor is strong and understands your market and your numbers. I always say data will stop you from being bullied on any side of the fence. If you know your data, you know your market, you know what your expectations should be, numbers don't lie. Right. I mean, they're true, they're real, and they just don't lie.
Right. And I feel like, too, so I guess this goes back to kind of like the co-op that you're working with, whether it's a listing agent or whatever. Sometimes, I'm speaking from an investor standpoint, I guess at this point, maybe not a homeowner, but even for a homeowner, I feel like it would be the same. Like, you know your budget. Right? So there could be a case where, they may be pushing for you to go $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 higher than what you want to or have a budget for. If you don't have the cash for it, why?
Correct.
Don't get bullied into that.
Right.
Because that's creating a scenario to where now, okay, well, sure, you may get yourself into a home, but then how long are you going to be in that home? When are you going to start having headaches? When are you going to start missing payments? When are you going to start having shit that needs to be fixed, like every other house, you know? So it's like, I feel like there's always a pressure on, well, there are this many buyers in here, you should come in with a strong offer, or there are this many houses selling in this area for this much. And it's like, okay, well, when I set my offer, just say no. Right. Don't bully me into increasing my offer.
Right. This is where I am.
Right.
This is where I am.
And if it doesn't work, I mean, that's fine. We'll find something.
Correct. Don't get emotional. I tell my clients that all the time. Like, because when you get emotional, getting bullied is like so easy, and being taken advantage of is so easy. And that leads me into, don't get bullied by your realtor. So anyway, that kind of leads us into my next don't get bullied person. And that's your realtor. So I have a client right now who is buying out of state. So we have her property listed, and I set her up with a phenomenal agent in EXP. We were so excited to work together. Like, I know. And then the client went up to Michigan, and she's in healthcare, and there's some very cool loans for people in healthcare. Right? The lending world really takes care of, there's teacher loans, there's doctor loans, there's different professional loans out there that are really great products if you're in those industries. I would encourage you, if you're in the market for a home, to look into those products. Well, this particular product that she was going to use to buy her house, this loan, the contract had to be written up by an agent who was certified to use this loan, right? Okay. So some programs do require your licensed professional to have a more extensive certification, right? Because they have to be able to talk on that
Which is
particular.
good to know.
Correct. There's, it's not a bad thing to have multiple certifications. It's not a bad thing to have your fiduciary have extra credentials.
Right.
It just opens up your options as a client for them, whether you're a buyer or a seller, because there's different products for both sides of the fence. So they decided that they were going to go with this loan program, which meant they had to go with their assigned realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a phone call right after Christmas that was like, we have to have our house sold. We weren't even listed. Their realtor was so hard up for a deal after some research, after they had signed, on the dotted line saying, yes, we'll work with this person. Right. Their realtor came to fruition, was a very, very, very new realtor. No transactions, so no experience, and hungry.
Right.
Like, that's deadly for you as a client.
Right. That's got bully written all over it.
Correct. Because that person does not care
right.
what happens to you.
Right.
They care about the bank account that has $0 in it.
You're right. The table with no plates with food.
Correct. And so as I start unpacking what they have signed, their realtor had them.
Signed it.
Oh yeah, they were under contract to buy. Oh yeah, they were under contract to buy. So their realtor had encouraged them to sign a purchase and sales contract on a new construction house, meaning the same house could be built by the same builder, right? Same floor plan, same everything. New construction, right? If we miss out on this one, it would suck for 9 months to have to rent. However, their earnest money, and their earnest money is now at risk because this realtor got them to sign a purchase and sale agreement that said that their earnest money was hard from day one and that they would have their house. No, there was no nothing. And so when I asked the agent, I was like, why was the reasoning why would you put someone's earnest money hard when the house has been on the market for 100 days? The builder can build the same exact house tomorrow, and the builder had 6 or 7 other houses currently for sale that were built. He goes, well, they weren't going to sign the purchase and sale agreement. So, who cares if the seller wasn't going to sign? There were multiple options for that client without having to risk their earnest money.
Get a better house.
Correct. And so when I was talking to the clients, we have a phenomenal relationship, right? We create very safe spaces for our clients. So having these conversations are easy for our clients with us.
Right.
We even put in our contract that all parties agree to smile and be honest. Right. And these are the conversations as to why. And what I was telling them was didn't it feel weird signing that? Didn't it feel like maybe that money didn't need to be at risk?
Right.
And then I unpacked the conversation that they had even more. And their agent had told them, listen, sign this. It's a great idea. Don't worry. The builder will give you more time. The builder will give you...
For a house that's been sitting out there for 100 days?
Correct. Well, when we needed more time, the agent was too afraid to go back to the builder because I found out later, he had actually lied to the builder. And so it was just a bad transaction all the way around. So my best piece of advice, which I've now given to these clients, is if it doesn't feel right... Is that the one
that was in a state where the agent couldn't be fired anyway?
Correct. So their agent can't be fired, yes. So they are stuck with this agent who bullied them.
They'll make the sale.
The agent will make the sale as long as we get their house in Atlanta sold. And, we're doing the right things. We had 16 showings last week. We just dropped the price because we didn't get any offers. So we did a nice price reduction, hoping to kind of save that transaction in the new city. But they were very much bullied. And it was due to that agent wanting to make money. And what really stinks is we've gotten his broker involved. And his broker's just as bad of a bully. And they tried to tell me that I was not doing my job well, that I needed to just accept the offer that we have, because that's the offer at $480. And it's like, but they can't buy the house if we accept the offer at $480, right? So now they're trying to bully me, and I don't get bullied. They're trying to bully me. And so I put a very firm stop to that conversation. And it was funny because bullies are also scared, right? So not only did this agent bully this client into signing this offer and not explaining to them very well, the agent wasn't willing to talk to the listing agent on the house they were buying. And the contract almost terminated the second week in January. I picked up the phone, I called the listing agent, and I gave the listing agent some expectations on where the market was, what our marketing plan was, how we were selling the house, how we were marketing the house, how we were dropping the price. And because of that phone call, because I wasn't scared to pick up the phone, right? The bully had lied to the co-oping agent, had been MIA, was hard to get in touch with, had just not created a good environment. And the co-oping agent on the purchase side for them won't even talk to their agent anymore. He will only talk to me.
And here you are not doing your job in their eyes.
Right. I'm actually doing both of their jobs. So, I think it's safe to say that you can get bullied from anyone in the transaction that has a stake in a paycheck.
Right. Somebody to get paid on closing.
Right. Anybody who's going to make some money. And so if it feels like you're getting pushed in a direction that you're not happy with, get a second opinion. This is like the largest purchase you'll ever make in your life. And if you're a new investor, you really want to get a second opinion. Even if it's not another realtor, talk to a family member, talk to someone who's not emotionally attached to that deal.
Send us a comment.
Yes, you can definitely reach out to us.
Your bully situation.
Yes, we will be happy to fight off your bullies for sure. Happy to give advice at any point in time. But if you are in a contract that doesn't feel right, reach out. Let us know, because there are things that actually can be done that maybe can't break the contract, but can put you in a better light, like I did for my clients in Michigan, right?
Exactly.
They almost lost their earnest money, $5,000. And for them, that's, for most American families, $5,000 is like, that's a hard pill to swallow, to just throw $5,000 out. I mean, that's a vacation. Right? That's a, that's a down payment on a car, or it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. And so if you feel like you're in a situation, reach out. We'd be happy to review your contract, give you some, some different options that you may have.
Find you a better agent.
Well, yeah, there's that. But don't get bullied, right? If it feels wrong, get a second opinion. Because in the state of Georgia, unlike some other states in this country, you can fire a realtor. Right. We can be let go. And even if you don't want to let your realtor go, hopefully the broker behind that realtor is willing to step up and step in.
Right. That's what they're there for.
Correct. They do get the contract that you sign to work with a realtor is actually a contract signed to work with a broker. The realtor is just the liaison between the two, and you probably never will meet the broker.
Right.
But that's actually who is representing you, is that broker.
Right.
Not the realtor that you're working with.
Right. Man, good point.
Yes.
So, is that about everybody that would bully you? Outside of the builders and the investors, which we'll talk about in Don't Get Fucked.
Correct. Yeah, I would say if you're making a purchase, watch out for anybody on that team that is part of that transaction that has a monetary stake in the transaction. Because if they feel like it's going south, they start getting nervous, because most people spend that paycheck
before it even came in. Yeah, I know. You are not wrong. You know what time it is?
I do.
It's time for
Question Quickies.
You're damn right. All right, so today's first question.
Questions already?
Oh yeah,
we're amazing. Send us more questions. We love questions. All
right, so what are the most important things to consider before investing in real estate, or even just purchasing a home? Right? Investing, living, tomato.
So for me, the most important thing is know your exit strategy, right? If you're buying a house and it's a 5-year plan, know what projects you're going to do in the 5 years, know how much money you want to invest, know where you want to be before you buy that house.
All right, I'm going to jump on a soapbox too to add to that.
Yes.
Know your budget.
Yes.
Know it. And do not get bullied out of your budget.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I don't care what nobody else's ARV is. I don't care what the rehab is. Don't forget your holding costs. And don't forget you got to get a realtor to sell it.
Yes, I agree. So I would say know your budget and know your exit strategy. Those are probably the most important, because the beauty of buying is anything else that you don't like, you can change.
Right.
You can change the color, you can change the floor, you can change the layout, but you can't change your budget. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't change your budget after it's been set. Some people can.
Right.
And know your exit strategy, because if you're in a house and you're flipping the house, especially, I would say know your exit strategy is probably the most important for investors. Mm-hmm. I guess if you're living in a house and you live there a year longer than you're wanting to, Lexi Cook, That's okay.
Leave my wife alone.
She's so ready to sell.
Oh, she is. So I actually can take a stab at answering this. So what do you think about creating an LLC when buying properties to protect your asset? Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes.
Investment properties. If you're living in one, I wouldn't do that. But you also want to get with your tax attorney to understand how you are going to benefit from your real estate, all those tax breaks, and then how you're capturing that revenue, all that different kind of stuff. Also, you want to talk with an attorney. We have a favorite attorney.
We do.
Craig Lerman, just to make sure you're deeding it over to the LLC correctly. Because I think in some states or some, I don't know, there are some instances where, like, of course, anytime you deed it over, you're supposed to call your lender. And so there's like a due on sale clause sometimes that's in there. They won't always act on it, especially if you're still just going to pay the damn bill, right? So you may not have an issue with it at all, but it's good to actually go through that process. Craig knows the whole thing. So
He does. And just a sidebar, so if you have an LLC and it's been established for a while, there have been some changes, which you probably want to know about right now. Major fines if you're not following those changes. So if you do have an LLC and you have some questions about that, reach out. We've got some great help on that side.
Exactly.
And, I just kind of throw in there, creating that LLC protects you. It gives you some tax shelters that you wouldn't have if it wasn't an LLC, but it also will help to protect your other assets.
Right.
When you start obtaining more than one door, which we have, right? We now have multiple doors. I don't want a tenant in the Louisiana property to slip, fall, and obviously we would do the right thing, right? I don't ever want to treat a tenant poorly,
Right.
but a lot of people will bully you.
Yes.
Right? When they think they can make a quick buck. And so
Exactly.
creating that LLC not only creates the tax shelters, but it's going to create some personal shelters as well, and some personal umbrellas to stop people from being able to come after other areas of your life. When you are growing wealth, whether it's through real estate or another platform, you want to make sure that each entity in that umbrella of, things that you have that grow your wealth are protected.
Right. And you're not going to want to do that alone. Like you want a CPA and an attorney at least, because you can do this very wrong. Right?
Correct.
You can put this in an LLC.
Yes.
Right? And then you can be in church. You can be in church. You can be in court.
You'd be praying in both.
Right. You'll be praying in both situations, I hope. But, yeah, they could be looking at you like, yeah, okay, it's in an LLC, but you ain't got no corporate veil. Right. We taking everything. Right.
And just because it's in an LLC doesn't necessarily mean you're totally protected. Like one of my properties, I have a business partner. Right? So the home is in an LLC.
Right.
But then my stake in that home is in a second LLC. Right? So there's two layers of protection there because I don't want him to not be set up correctly, which he is. Craig helped. But a lot of times they don't, right? If you have a partner that is part of that LLC or part of whatever venture you're doing, they are not always protected correctly. And sometimes their personal assets and the way their personal things are laid out could put you at risk. And so having those conversations just really help to mitigate those situations.
So, last question we have here. What are the best locations to invest in real estate? The most loaded question I've seen.
The earth.
The earth. Not Mars yet.
The earth.
So this is actually a really good question. It's going to be different for everyone. I would say things you want to look for is, one, where do you frequent, right? Whether it's your neck of the woods, whether it's your hometown, or whether it's your favorite spot to vacation with your spouse, right? So you want to look for one of those because at that point, if you got to go out there, worst case scenario, you don't want to be hiking it across the country just to go to that house and come back, right? You at least want to go out there and like, okay, well, this is where I frequent to come surf or hike the mountains or whatever, right? So you really want to do that. It's just kind of to make it like, because then you also kind of know those areas too.
Correct.
Right? As they change, you know if it's a good change or if it's a bad change, right? If it's a bad change, maybe you want to get out of that area and 1031 somewhere else. Or maybe it's a good area and you want to hold it for a while until you start to see that value top out, right?
Correct.
So that's how I would answer that question. Anything you would add?
Yeah, so I'm going to come at it a little different. I'm going to come at it with my favorite answer to every real estate question, and that's know your end game. What is the objective with that property, right? So if you're short-term, looking for a short-term rental, then You want to make sure that you've looked at a location that has lots of visitors. It's got lots of things to do around it.
Exactly.
How long you should hold the property, right? So this location, great, short-term rentals maybe is a 5-year hold in one area, right? It could be something that's a little bit shorter. It could be something that's a little bit longer. And so when you're picking your location, I think you need to know what you're doing with that property.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, you definitely want to plan.
If you're looking for a long-term rental, then you want to go to a location where your initial rent price, the first year you rent it out, reflects about 1% of the purchase price.
Right.
So when I bought my property in Louisiana, we knew we'd be renting it out for probably about $1,200-$1,300 a month. And when you removed the back acreage that I wasn't actually renting out, I probably, if I was to have sold or bought just the front acre plus the house, I probably would have paid about $150.
Right.
And so at $1,300 a month, that was close, right? That would be a good long-term rental objective.
Right.
Whereas if you're looking for a long-term rental here in the Atlanta market, you may pay. I think I had a client this summer who bought,
It was twice that.
Correct.
With the same rent.
Correct. So we bought at $350. I actually think we paid $315 for it. I think his budget was $350, and we paid $315 for what he bought.
Right.
And we're getting $22 a month for the house. However, he knows that he's not going to hold this house long term, right? He knows this is a 5-year investment for him. He paid cash up front for it. By the time we sell it, we probably will be close to that $3,000 mark-ish, probably somewhere in $2,700, $2,600, $2,800 a month. But he will have gained 6% year over year. Right? So his objective is to gain that 6% so that he can buy, sell, and then buy 2 more in 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
Whereas my house in Louisiana, I know for me that's a long-term play. I'm not selling the property. I'm not selling the house. I want the land. I like having the land. That's, it's a homestead, if you will, for me. And so coming in at that 1%, knowing that I'm not selling in 5 years, then for me, that was a good location for that particular property.
Right.
So I think your location just depends on what your long-term objective is with the investment.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
And then that goes back to having a realtor who doesn't let you get bullied. Everything goes back to don't get bullied.
Absolutely. Do not get bullied, please. So, well, that about wraps it up for today. So, thanks for joining today for Spill the Tea with Laura and Dee, as always. If you thought this was helpful and or entertaining, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you have any questions for a house flipper or a real estate professional, I did that backwards. Well, I guess we're both house flippers.
Yeah, we're both house flippers.
You're the real estate professional.
I am the real estate professional.
Drop them in the comments and we'll answer them in one of our upcoming videos.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Yeah. Ooh.